So at Burning Man, my friend Dean made me this amazing outfit. I don't normally use the word costume because costume implies you're being somebody that you're not. In this case, it was actually a costume. It was a superhero costume. He had this vision of making a Hug Nation superhero. And so I went to his house, did a fitting, and he had this amazing cape that went with it. And when we were talking, he was like, I don't really know what the superhero's name is. Maybe it's just Halcyon. And yeah, that kind of sounded right, but there was a part of me that's just like, that's not right. And so if you haven't seen any pictures of it, here's the outfit, or the costume. And it wasn't until coming home, well, as I was there, I kind of developed this whole backstory, and I invented, it had these dual scepters. One of them was covered in EL wire, so I would carry around this scepter, and I would go, you are loved, you are loved, 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 loved. My work here is done, and then I would exit away from the place I was. And it had these, if you can see, it's got these huge, pads, these plates. So it's not actually the best hugging costume. And so what I would tell people, they're like, I would say, I'm sorry about the discomfort involved with the hug, but my home planet, our hearts are so bright and vibrant that if I were to actually embrace you without these protective shields, you would just burst into pure light. And so for your safety, we have to endure this mild discomfort. I hope you understand. And so it was fun to get this backstory going. And then when I actually came home and was looking at the pictures, I realized the name of the superhero. SHADRACH. SHADRACH. It's kind of got a Shazam feel. Now SHADRACH is actually a Bible name. It is a Bible story that was something that was been rattling around in my head my whole life. When I was a kid, we had this jazz Bible songs album. We didn't have a lot of, my parents weren't super into music, so we didn't have a ton of music. I didn't discover the Beatles until much later, but one of these records, is Bible jazz songs, and there was this one about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and it was like, it's cool in the furnace, it's cool in the furnace, man. And the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are these three young men that King Nebuchadnezzar kind of recruited into his training program, I guess is how I understand it. And along the way, at some point, Nebuchadnezzar commanded everybody to bow before his golden god, his idol. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are like, nah, dude, sorry, that's not our god. We're not going to bow to it. And Nebuchadnezzar was like, what? You do what I say. I'm the king. I'm the emperor. Or whatever he was, the leader of all that is in his domain. And so he's like, I'm going to throw you guys in the furnace. And they're like, dude, we answer to a higher truth. I'm sorry. And he's like, oh, minions, crank up the furnace to 5 times its normal heat. You will burn. And then the young men are like, look, we're not going to burn. Our God will protect us. And the way that the song that I remember as a kid was that they danced in the fire. When looking and trying to figure out the story online, it sounds like they were actually rescued by an angel. But the point of the story is that they sat in their truth, that they did not let the authority of the default world establish what their truth was and what their God was. They didn't worship the idol, they didn't worship gold, they didn't worship a person. They knew that their truth came from God. And I love that. In fact, not only that, their superpower, Shadrach's superpower, is that he can bend reality with love vibrations. That fire's hot? No, it's not. My connection to source is so strong it can warp reality. So, on a side note, Shadrach was also the name that I kind of had in the back of my mind for the longest time that I was going to name a kid if I had a boy. But since it doesn't look like that's happening anytime soon, the name Shadrach just came out as like the superhero. This is Shadrach from the planet Heart, or wherever it. Okay, it's an ongoing process of revealing itself, but I can't wait to introduce Shadrach to the world in a more significant way. Dun dun dun! You are loved! You are loved! You are loved! Bzz, bzz, bzz.